This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and yet another Smackdown. These laptops are competing like mad with each other, and you guys and gals have had a lot of requests. So this time we have the incumbent, the favorite, the HP Spectre x360, the one that at one point we called Bob as a nickname, best of the best. Really a fantastic, streamlined, aluminum unibody, gorgeous looking Ultrabook 2-in-1 convertible, whatever you want to call it, 13.3-inch display, and a reasonable price tag given what you get, and optional Synaptics pen, which we have sitting right over here. Here we have the Surface Book. By now you know what the Surface Book is. It's Microsoft's new expensive, fancy, but also very nice convertible 2-in-1 with a 13.5-inch display, and this is a separable versus this one has the Yoga 360-degree hinge. The Surface Book's going to cost you more, but you do get some extra stuff inside. We're going to talk about that now. Here we have the battle of two gorgeous aluminum 13-inch class Ultrabooks. We have the HP Spectre x360 here, and we have Microsoft's Surface Book. Both of these really look stunningly attractive and gorgeous in kind of different ways. Surface Book goes more for the angular thing, and of course they have the unusual fulcrum hinge over here. So this is the side view of the laptop. It never quite closes. You could either say that that is dorky and uncomfortable, or it feels like a book spine and it's really comfy holding. That is up to you as to how you feel about that. I find it pretty comfortable actually, so it hasn't bothered me too much. Now, where this looks like it's just a straight cut slab of magnesium, gorgeous. Technically this is really magnesium alloy, not aluminum like the HP. That doesn't actually matter. HP here, they have the little chrome look on the side here. It's a very clean design. The way these two rounded pieces meet is also just stunning and gorgeous. These are both rigid. These are both really well made. And there we've seen all sides on this. So normal the way it closes. Next important point here, before we even get into the pricing, which is the big thing really. This is a yoga style convertible. That means it's a 360-degree hinge. You open it up like so. It's not too hard to open up. It's actually easier to open than Surface Book. Surface Book is just not happy to open. So you can do this, you can do this. It has the keyboard facing out. If you put it in presentation mode, just like a yoga, you can put it in tent mode. You can close it as a tablet. And nice thing about it is optional pen. Now this is a Synaptics pen right here. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. Now, our Surface Book is a 2-in-1 with a separable design. We've seen that before. Of course, Microsoft does it a little bit more sophisticatedly, complicatedly, and they have to do that because there's a secondary battery in here and a graphics processor, so you can't just willy-nilly lift this off in case the program that you're using is actually making use of that GPU. So, you press a little button, you wait for it to go green, makes a little sound, and then you take it off like that. So the benefit here is that it's lighter. This is 1.6 pounds by itself. With the HP, you're always going to be holding the full weight of the machine. It doesn't go separate into two parts, and that's a 3.2-pound machine. This feels futuristic, lightweight, very nice to use if you're drawing or writing or something like that. But the drawback is there's no stand here, is there? You're going to need some kind of stand, or you're going to mount it backwards on this base, which you can do. You can put it back on like so. And there you have it. So that's how you get the sort of yoga-like thing there. You can even put it in tent mode if you want. It's a nice stiff hinge, so that works. Presentation mode, tablet mode. That's where this kind of angle here is actually pretty handy because you turn it around like so. Of course, these have accelerometers, so the display will rotate, and then it feels kind of like you're holding, you know, a pad of paper or something like that. It's pretty good. All right, now when these when this is assembled, this weighs 3.5 pounds. This weighs 3.25 pounds. So the Surface Book is a little bit heavier. That's with the dedicated GPU. It is a little bit lighter without that. 3.34 pounds. Still, we're talking 3.26 pounds to the HP. But what about the pen experience? Well, we have the latest N-trig technology with 1024 levels of pressure sensitivity here and an eraser on the pen, which really isn't a function of the digitizer built into the display. You could use any N-trig pen with this display. You can use this nice eraser pen with other N-trig digitizer laptops. Another issue there. Anyway, this is really nice, and N-trig is a bit more mature technology. They've not been in the business as long as Wacom, but they've been doing this pretty seriously for almost 10 years now. So, not surprisingly, this is the better pen experience. Now, our HP Spectre x360, this is the optional pen. This is actually the one for some of the Dells, like the Dell Inspiron series. HP does make their own pen too. I find that Dell's works a little bit better. You can find out about that in our full written review and video reviews of the Spectre. Anyway, Synaptics is kind of new at the game. They've been making trackpads and doing a great job at it for quite some time. The pen, about a year before the Spectre came out, what we saw in other products was a disaster. Now it's actually pretty good, but it's still not up there in terms of levels of pressure sensitivity and latency to the N-trig. So we have Sketchbook Pro running on both of these. By the way, the pen, like I said, costs extra. It's about $40-50, and the pen with the Surface Book is included, so you don't have to buy it. If you do want to buy a second one, it is around $59. So here we have Sketchbook Pro, and you'll have pressure sensitivity with both of these, and you can adjust that. Now, the latency on this when I'm drawing is pretty good. It's keeping up with that rapid movement really very nicely. It's pretty natural. I can rest my hand on the glass while I do this. This is true of both of them. It's lovely. And for note-taking, it feels nice. And this pen is very nice. They work real hard on getting a softer tip, so it feels more natural, less like writing with a hard thing on glass, and it's a lot quieter. And again, we have the eraser on the end, so what could be easier than just erasing with your eraser? There is one button on the side of the pen. It functions as a right click. It's not programmable. The pen is programmable insofar as you can do the press to launch OneNote, the double press to take a screenshot, and there's the press and hold for Cortana too, to launch Cortana. So here we have the HP Spectre x360 with the optional Synaptics pen right here, and also we've got pressure sensitivity. I press hard, I press light, and that works very nicely too. Now if I start doing this, you'll see the pen can't quite keep up. That's still an issue with Synaptics. So for those of you who are mad fast drawers or writers, even if you're note-taking, I don't think you can outpace this significantly, but mostly it's for quick sketching. If you're filling in the background, doing that kind of thing, right there, it may lag behind, but it's not that bad. As you see it following the pen pretty naturally. Still not quite up there with the Surface Book's digitizer. Now another point is, for those of you who are into display backlighting, this has PW, pulse width modulating backlighting. So there are times when on our camera it will pick up the flicker, the backlight cycling on this. So for those of you who have sensitive eyes and feel that you can actually see that kind of flicker of the backlighting quickly turning on and off, this uses that technology. The Surface Pro doesn't, so there is none of that. Also for displays, this is the 1080p model. It's also available in QHD on the Spectre. So it's just 2560 by 1440 resolution. So the Surface Book has a higher resolution 3000 by 2000 pixel display, and that's your only option. There is no going lower on that. For the HP, it's about $100 to add on the QHD to go above 1080p. Both of them support the pen, both of them support touch, both of them are gloss on the HP. So pretty much the same technology. 99% of sRGB coverage, not quite as well calibrated as Surface Book, which also has 99% of sRGB, but comes calibrated from the factory. Of course, if you have a colorimeter, you can calibrate the Spectre, so it's not the end of the world. And by the way, you can probably hear the clicking. That's the difference in the pen sound for those of you who get dirty looks when you're in class taking notes because you're constantly going when you're writing. There's that. And this really highlights the keyboard facing out versus not issue. For those of you who really hate the keys facing down, that's what the Spectre has right here when you put it in this position. But really, why we're showing you this is because with the Spectre, this is more like a traditional laptop. The Yoga models with the 360-degree hinge are. All your computer stuff, the brains, are in the bottom section. That means the heat that you're going to feel, and this is conductive aluminum, you will feel some heat coming off of this if it's working hard. Otherwise, not so much, but it can get kind of toasty. But you can take this bottom panel off, and you have access to the SSD and the wireless cord, and of course, the battery as well. RAM is soldered on board for this. Both of these are available with Intel 6th generation Skylake 15-watt Ultrabook CPUs, Core i5, Core i7. The HP Spectre has been on the market for a year now, so it's also available with the last generation Broadwell 5th gen. You might save a little money there. Anyway, both the same CPU powerhouses inside. With the Surface Book, all the brains are in the tablet section. That's why you can separate from the keyboard and it still actually works. You can't really upgrade the internals there. You would have to use a display puller just to pull the display out to get to the internals, so just forget about it. Ain't gonna happen. So for those of you who care about upgradability after the fact, Spectre takes a win there. In terms of battery life, both of these have really excellent battery life. Now, HP claims up to 12 hours or so with the X360. So does Microsoft with the Surface Book. Now, in practice with the Core i7, 8GB of RAM, 256GB SSD model we have here, I've been getting about 9 to 10 hours with the Spectre. I've been getting about 10 hours with Surface Book. So that's close enough that I don't think it's a huge decision point. Speaking of configurations, now if you want that nicely appointed Spectre, it's about $1,169. That gets you that Core i7, 256GB SSD, 8GB of RAM. You can get it with a larger SSD if you want. If you want the higher resolution QHD display, add 100, so that'd be $1,269. Surface Book starts at $1,500, and that will get you a Core i5. 8GB of RAM, 128GB SSD, and no dedicated GPU in the base. If you want that, you're going to have to move up to the dedicated GPU model, which is $1,899, and that's still a Core i5. If you want to go Core i7, you're looking at over $2,000. So price is a big consideration here, and I think that's why a lot of you are wondering, is Surface Book worth the extra money? If you need that dedicated GPU that's inside, which is about equivalent to an NVIDIA 940M, then, well, sure it is. There's no such option in the HP Spectre x360. Now, that's not the most amazing graphics in the world in the Surface Book, but it's enough to make games playable that wouldn't otherwise be playable, like Fallout 4, for example. It actually is playable on Surface Book, whereas Fallout 4 doesn't even support Intel HD integrated graphics right now, and, you know, it wouldn't run well even if it did, to be honest. So for those of you who want to get into some gaming, this is certainly the gateway to do that. It's no gaming laptop. It's not even the XPS 15 or the ZenBook UX 501 Pro model, but it's a start, and it's going to help accelerate your graphics work if you're doing a little bit of CAD for school, if you're doing 1080p video editing, that sort of thing. So your extra money is going for that. It's also going for the fancy fulcrum hinge design, which in part is necessitated by the separate GPU. Nice thing about the Surface Book, it'll never get hot in your lap since all the brains are up here also. Is it worth the extra money? It does have an even nicer display, but the Spectre's is really a very pleasing display, and it's color accurate enough to do some photo editing. Both of these have pretty decent keyboards. I really like the Surface Books a lot. The Spectre's is very good. I like the Surface Books a little bit more. Both of these have silver keys with white backlighting, which means in the twilight hour, shall we say, if the backlighting turns on, it'll actually make things worse instead of better. If you're in the dark, it's okay. So I just turned the backlighting off on both of these. The contrast is actually a little bit better on Surface Book. In terms of trackpad, the Spectre has the supersized trackpad, which I don't know. It doesn't rock my world. It's a decent trackpad. It's not as super duper awesome as the Surface Books, which is as good as a Max, but this isn't bad, but you're going to get a better trackpad. All right, how about ports? Now, both of these are designed to be used as tablets as well, so they have side accessible or top accessible in the case of the Surface Books, volume and power controls. So we have on top is the Spectre x360. We have SD card slot, we have USB 3.0, we got our charging port there. Here we have on the Surface Book 2 USB 3.0 ports and also an SD card slot. Flip them around. And on this side, Spectre catches up and passes. 2 more USB 3.0 ports, that's a total of 3 USB ports, full-size HDMI, and a mini display port. The Surface Book has a mini display port. If you're running a high-resolution monitor, you're probably using mini display port, not HDMI. If you're connecting to a projector or a TV, you're probably using HDMI. So you'll need a dongle adapter for the Surface Book for HDMI, but that's not exactly a hardship right there. And that's the magnetic charging connector, and they both have stereo headphone combo mic jacks. So Spectre pulls ahead on the ports there, certainly. With Microsoft, there is the optional $199 dock that adds Ethernet, 2 mini display ports, 4 USB 3.0 ports as well, but then again, you got to spend $199 for that. So between the two of these, and by the way, with the Spectre, there's that new Ash Silver edition, which is very pretty, copper highlights and a darker interior. In a way, I feel like they're charging $100 extra just so you can have a keyboard with better contrast. Be that as it may. Who are these for? Well, pretty much the same people. People looking for 2-in-1 convertibles, people looking for pen input. Obviously, with Surface Book, pen input is a real focus. With HP, they hardly mention the fact that it can do that. The pen experience is better on the Surface Book. If you're a note taker, honestly, either of these is going to work. If you're an artist, the Surface Book will give the more pleasing experience there. And there's a big difference in price, isn't there? I know. I mean, the Spectre is a pretty good value for the money, given that it's pretty chic, high-end parts and all that sort of thing. Is the Surface Book worth that extra money? It is if you prefer a separable tablet section, which some people do. It's very lightweight, holding 1.6 pounds, way nicer than holding 3¼ pounds. Also, there's the dedicated graphics. It may not be high-end, but it's enough to make gaming and video editing and CAD work, you know, college-level CAD work, not professional. I think most of you who are professionals are using mobile workstations for that. But to make it a quicker and more pleasant experience. So you do get some stuff for your money there. You're not just paying for the wacky fulcrum hinge. So there you have it. The differences, you've learned them now between the HP Spectre x360 and the Surface Book. Now, with the HP Spectre x360, you'll still see 5th generation Broadwell CPU versions as well as 6th generation Skylake. Honestly, the performance and battery life difference is not so huge. And clearly, if you're on a budget and several $100s count, the Spectre is going to be a real high-class product for your dollar. And like I said, the price is pretty reasonable for what you get. The Surface Book, well, besides having the cachet of being an official Microsoft device, if you want that separable design, if you want that better pen experience, the N-trig pen in this, the latest generation that Microsoft has, is better for inking, honestly. If you're just taking notes, either one of them is going to do kind of okay, though. And if you want that dedicated GPU option, well, that's something that the Spectre can't offer. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our video reviews of each of these products, read our written reviews, and hit that like button.